Severe weather season is here, and the time to prepare is now. Thanks for joining us for Ahead of this Storm. I'm KOAM's Chief Meteorologist, Doug Heddy. The SkyWatch weather team is here to help you prepare for the severe weather season. Plus, we're going to talk about what I'm forecasting for the season. You need to make sure your storm shelter or safe room is stocked and ready to go in an event of a severe weather event. Chris Warner spoke with the Joplin and Jasper County Emergency Manager about which supplies are essential.
It's a beautiful day. Temperatures are warm, the humidity is high, and dark clouds loom on the horizon. Then, warnings are issued and the sirens sound. You gather your family and pets and head to your safe area. But do you have everything you need? Joplin Jasper County Emergency Manager David Holden says there are some essential items to take with you.
The main things you should have is drinking water and a couple of days of non-perishable food. And don't forget your pet food also. And clothing and blankets and some battery-powered radios and battery-powered lights and some spare batteries for those. And a first aid kit is awful handy. And a spare cell phone charger also.
Holden says you should have those essentials ready to go at a moment's notice.
You could put it in just a small to-go bag, just have it several days worth of stuff and just the same kind of things, but just have it where it's ready to go. And you should have those also for things other than tornadoes, any other kind of natural disaster.
And there's something else he suggests you have on hand, a plastic whistle.
If you get trapped in your house, you can blow the whistle and the responders can find you a lot faster that way.
Should you need to take shelter, Holden says you should call someone and let them know so there's a record you're in your shelter. He also suggests registering your storm shelter. That way, first responders know where to look for you following a disaster. Lastly, Holden recommends holding tornado drills at home, especially if you have children.
It gives everybody practice and lets everybody know, hey, where we need to go and what we need to do. And you're not finding it out on the night of the storm, that you've practiced it ahead of time.
In Joplin, Chris Warner, KOAM SkyWatch Weather.
Holden says it's not a good idea to have candles if the power goes out because you don't want to mix flames and gas.
That's right, Doug. A lot of people put their most precious items in the garage to store, but unfortunately that's not probably the best place to do so because as tornadic and storm winds impact the door, it becomes like aluminum foil. And once the winds get inside the garage, it begins lifting up on the ceiling and the roof, and then the next thing you know, your roofing system goes and the walls fall down. About 90% of homes that garage door survives had no structural damage to the roofing system. So it's very important to make sure that you have a strong garage door. If you'd like more information, you can go to disastersafety.org/garage door for more additional information. Now we're going to go to Doug, who's going to tell us where to go in the event of a tornado warning for you.
So where are you going to take shelter during the storm season? Some 4-state cities have storm shelters that are open to the public. Joplin schools have a number of public storm shelters scattered across the community. These shelters are public in part due to FEMA funding. They open when there are tornado warnings or when tornado sirens are activated. If warnings or sirens happen during school hours, students and staff get priority for the safe rooms.
If we think that there's going to be an imminent tornado warning in the area, we have a procedure that we're able to activate the safe rooms throughout the district.
The district says while all school buildings in the district include safe rooms for students and staff, not all are open to the public. We've posted a complete list of our community safe rooms on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Of course, when we get into severe weather season, we throw out a lot of terms that some people know, some people don't. But what we need for big thunderstorms to really get going, we need instability or energy in the atmosphere. We need moisture, usually get it from the Gulf of Mexico. Shear, this is wind changing as it goes up with height. And then we need lift, warm front, dry line, cold front to kind of mix all that together. And that's when we get these big severe thunderstorms. So what is a severe thunderstorm warning? We need winds at about 60 miles per hour and 1-inch hail or quarter-size hail, so the size of a quarter. Now, we do get stronger severe thunderstorm warnings. So a considerable one would be winds at 70 miles per hour and golf ball size hail. And we even get bigger severe thunderstorms, the very destructive ones, winds clocking at 80 miles per hour, baseball size hail. Usually when you are getting winds at 80 above, Those are those derechos that we sometimes get as we go through the spring and the summer months. Another term you're always going to hear is the cap. And these really kind of, when we get those big supercells, tornadic supercells, the cap is very important. So what the cap is a loft, a big layer of warm air. So thunderstorms try to build and they hit that warm air and they just can't do it. So when the cap breaks, those thunderstorms explode, and that's what we see during the spring. So of course, remember this, get ready, get set, go. Get ready means when we are talking about severe weather, a day out or 2 days out or 3 days out, just be prepared that that day we could have an event. Get set when a watch is issued here or nearby. You want to make sure your plan is active and ready to go. And then go, you need to take shelter when we have severe or tornado warnings. Another big aspect of severe weather is flooding. Chris Warner is going to give us some flooding tips next.
Welcome back to Ahead of the Storm. Emergency officials in the 4 states prepare for the upcoming severe weather season before it starts. KOAM's Yana Hatala talked with emergency management officials about their preparation and some tips they give for residents during bad weather.
As severe storm season approaches, emergency management's job is to prepare to keep residents safe.
If there's a storm coming in, we have a meeting hours prior to that to kind of prepare on which area of the county the storm's coming into, so we can advise residents approximately when it will hit.
Crawford County, Kansas Emergency Management asks residents to sign up for Nixle alert system to receive alerts. Joplin Emergency Management Coordinator David Holden also asks residents to have a phone with any alerting system with them when inside.
There's 36 sirens that the city has, and they send out, and the sirens are actually for outdoor warning. They're not really made for people that are inside their house. That's why you should have a weather radio or have an app on your cell phone that will also let you know that there's a storm coming.
Joplin School District's community storm shelters are open for public. While Crawford County has 7 public shelters within the county, the city of Pittsburgh does not have any. USD 250 school shelters are for the students and staff during school hours only. Individuals installing tornado shelters in homes are asked to register them with your county.
Register it with our GIS office at the Crawford County website. That way we know if a tornado does happen in search and rescue process, we know there's a tornado shelter there and we can come find you.
Both officials remind to stay in an interior part of your home during tornado and leave for flooding.
People have plans, but they don't practice them. I'm not saying you have to do it every week, but every once in a while, just go over your plan.
Yana Hautala, KOAM News.
Now, severe weather isn't limited to straight-line winds, hail, and tornadoes. It includes heavy rains and the aftermath, flooding. Now, parts of the 4 states more easily flood than others. With the number of streams, rivers, and lakes we have, that's no surprise. And Miami is particularly familiar with flooding and the problems that come from it. However, flooding can hit anywhere, anytime, and it's essential to know what to do and what not to do in order to stay safe. You need to have a plan in place for you, your family, your pets in case of flooding in your area. That should include knowing what to do, where to go, and how to protect yourself from flooding. Know your flood risks. FEMA offers a flood map to help you identify if you're in a flood-prone area. And flash flooding can occur anywhere, so make sure you're aware if you're in or near a low-lying area prone to flash flooding. And monitor weather reports for incoming flood watches and warnings, especially, again, if you're in one of those flood-prone areas. And keep supplies and important documents ready to go, just in case you need to head to higher ground. You also need to be prepared to evacuate. Listen for official messages regarding flooding evacuations or evacuation orders. Turn around, don't drown. That's one of the most important lessons. If you see water over a roadway, turn around immediately. It's impossible sometimes to tell the depth and speed of that water, and it really doesn't take much to push your car off the roadway. And of course, don't play or swim in flood water. Debris and other dangerous items may be in that water, and if you don't know the condition of what's underneath, it can make it more dangerous. Additionally, power lines may be down in floodwaters, which could electrify the water, making it deadly to enter. And make sure to use caution when returning to flood-damaged buildings. You may not know the state of the building, what holds it up, and the building itself could be dangerous to enter. Well, still ahead, meteorologist Sam Lane breaking down some of the 4 states' history with severe weather. That's next on Ahead of the Storm.
Welcome back to Ahead of the Storm. Springtime evokes a lot of happy memories like St. Patrick's Day celebrations and Easter egg hunts. But for our area, it also brings to mind the destruction left by tornadoes. March 15, 1982. A tornado outbreak in southeast Kansas and western Missouri on this date produced 23 tornadoes. One of the tornadoes was on the ground for 70 miles and struck Arma and Mulberry, Kansas. 50 homes were destroyed and damaging 90 others. This same tornado killed a woman near Cedar Springs, Missouri. April 19, 2000. Downtown Parsons, Kansas was hit directly with a tornado that stayed on the ground for 12 miles. This tornado injured 27 people and damaged or destroyed 750 buildings, doing $69 million worth of damage. May 2003. There was an outbreak sequence of tornadoes in early May affecting our area on May 4th with several tornadoes. One of them hit Jericho Springs and Stockton, Missouri, with yet another striking Pierce City in Berry County. Then on May 8th, another tornado tracked from Toronto to Yates Center, Kansas, with 3 injuries. May 10th, 2008. This very large tornado directly hit the town of Pitcher, Oklahoma, essentially destroying the town forever. This tornado was part of an outbreak that killed 21 along its path from northeast Oklahoma into southwest Missouri.
People trying to pick through the rubble, I suppose.
May 22nd, 2011. Obviously, this tornado was the one that everyone remembers, not only here in Joplin, but across the nation, as this tornado set a record for the total amount of damage done with over $3.3 billion, and it was the single most deadly tornado since 1947 Woodward, Oklahoma tornado with 161 deaths. May 22nd, 2019. 8 years to the day, another tornado struck the Joplin metro area with a path through Carl Junction. This particular tornado caused no injuries or fatalities. There were other tornadoes produced that day, including Crawford County, Kansas, Golden City, Missouri, and McDonald County, Missouri. And these are just a few of the dates in which deadly and devastating tornadoes have occurred in our area. And since tornadoes have been and always will be a part of the 4 states, it's very important to be prepared for the next time they make an appearance. Joplin emergency officials are urging residents to be prepared and to have a plan in place. And that, of course, includes protecting your property. KOAM's Dow Quick has more.
Joplin emergency officials recommend keeping a close eye on weather forecasts during severe weather season. But before it storms, they say you should have a plan to keep your property safe.
Or you can take your downspouts and your guttering and make sure those are cleaned out as well. If you have a trampoline or anything fly away, it could go into your neighbor's house and damage their house also. So you want to make sure you tie it down, not just for you, but for your neighbors also.
Holden also suggests you take a look at what's above your house and yard. Overhanging or dead tree limbs should be removed. Home insurance can be very beneficial.
The Joplin tornado that came through, one thing we found out when that happened was there was a large percentage of homes were actually underinsured, which means they didn't have enough insurance to actually rebuild back to where they were.
If you want to get insurance, the time to do so is now.
Unfortunately, weather events are very common. Wind, hail, tornadoes, all those things are very common in the state of Missouri. So it would not be in your best interest to not insure your home.
In Joplin, Dow Quick, KOAM News.
You should also keep a copy of your insurance documents and be sure to take photos of all your precious items in your home and make sure you have an emergency kit just in case you need to find them after the storm. Now, Chief Meteorologist Doug Heddy comes back. He's going to break down exactly what we can expect for this severe weather season. That's coming up next on Ahead of the Storm.
All right, so it's time. Let's break down what we're going to see as we go through the next couple months. First off, this is our third La Nina in a row, which is kind of crazy. We haven't done that in 100 years. So that is the cooling of the ocean waters, usually pushes the jet further north, and that's why in the winter we get those big Arctic outbreaks. We are about ready to switch to El Nino, which is the warming of the ocean waters, and this shifts the jet a little bit farther south, usually gives us more action as we get into winter and also the spring months. Now, La Nina and El Nino, they influence the Heddy pattern, a unique pattern. It sets up every September. It lasts for a year. So this will go for 12 months. Within the pattern, there's a recurring cycle, anywhere from about 38 upwards to about 70 days. So once you figure out that recurring cycle, then you can project what is going to happen down the road. So as we look at the spring, we have two main features that I've really noticed all the way through the winter. We get upper level lows that kick out into the central plains, and part of the pattern they go into the northern plains, part of the pattern they track right on top of us. And this is what we're going to see as we go into the spring. So let's look at feature number one. We are going to see this several times as we go through the spring. This is a classic storm setup, puts us right in the target zone, and this type of setup are going to be bigger tornado outbreaks. So we do got to watch out for that as we go into the spring. Now, the other feature, when the upper level lows track across the northern plains, it puts tornado outbreaks up in the eastern parts of Iowa. But we still get severe weather, more big lines of storms. So these are kind of the wind makers. So both of these features we are going to see as we go through the next couple months. So we average about 8 to 10 events. That's from March 1st to June 10th. Usually June 10th, we're about done. We've already had a couple events, January and February. We're not going to count those. We should end up with 8 to 10. I think we're going to be right about average, and 1 or 2 I expect to be big or major events. So that is something we want to watch. So what dates do we need to put in the back of our mind? All right, so once we get into April, April 4th through 8th, there's 2 events. Both of them could be severe, one of them could be severe. April 13th, 14th, another event. 21st, 22nd is another event. April 25th, 28th, I put draft days. The NFL draft is in Kansas City. That is Friday the 28th. That is something we want to keep our eyes on. Once we get into May, 2 events between the 1st and the 4th of May, and then a little bit of a lull. And then it picks up again the second half of May, May 12th, 13th, 17th through the 20th, 25th through the 27th, and then one right about the beginning of June. Now, once we hit that, we hit MCS season, which is, in a sense, big complex of storms, the ones that drive through during the overnight. And usually once we get to about the 4th of July, things start to calm down just a little bit. But I do think it's going to be a decently active season, at least an average season for us. So always, don't forget, download the SkyWatch weather app. It's free.
Thank you so much for joining us for our severe weather season special ahead of the storm.
And don't forget to download the SkyWatch weather app from your favorite app store.
Plus, it's free. Thanks for joining us. Have a great evening.